All right, Chair Cisco, staff is ready when you are.
Okay, not seeing the other commissioners here.
All right, commissioners, if you can please turn on your cameras and get prepared for the meeting.
Okay, there we go. Great. Okay, so with that, I will call to order tonight's meeting of the City of Santa Rosa Planning Commission and start by reading this statement. Due to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Orders N-25-20 and N-29-20, which suspend certain requirements of the Brown Act and the Order of the Health Officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the Planning Commissioners will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom webinar. Commissioners and staff are participating from remote locations and or practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak during item 4, public comment, or during our public hearing items will be able to do so by raising their hands and will be given the ability to address the commission. So with that, I will ask for roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair Cisco. Let the record reflect that all commissioners are present.
Great. With that, we'll move on to the approval of our November 2nd, 2020 minutes. Any comments or corrections on those? Not seeing any, then those will stand as printed. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to public comments, which is a time for any member of the public wishing to address the commission on matters of interest to the commission that are not listed tonight as a public hearing may do so. If you would like to make a public comment, you may use the raise hand feature if you're calling in by Zoom, or if you're calling in by phone, hit *9 and you'll be recognized by the host and allowed to unmute and speak for 3 minutes. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open public comments.
Thank you, Chair Cisco. At this time, no one is raising their hands.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close public comments and bring it back to Planning Commissioner reports. Any reports by commissioners tonight? Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to department reports. Any department reports tonight?
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Cisco and members of the Planning Commission. We do not have any department reports this evening. However, I did want to let you know that following this evening's meeting, we will be issuing a cancellation of the November 26th Planning Commission meeting. And in doing so, we wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Great, thanks. So with that, we'll move on to statements of abstention by commissioners. Any abstentions tonight? Commissioner Kaya.
I unfortunately need to abstain from item 10.1A due to a financial conflict with the applicant.
Okay. And anyone else? Yeah, Commissioner Krepke.
I have to abstain from 10.1B due to a possible perceived financial conflict.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. We have no study session tonight nor any consent items. So with that, we're going to move on to item 10 of public hearings tonight. 10.1 is our fall 2020 general plan amendment package. It's going to be consisting of 3 separate items and 3 separate public hearings, all of which are ex parte disclosures. So we're going to begin with 10.1A, and Commissioner Kalia, you will need to exit the, whatever we call this, for the time being. Thank you. Okay. So with that, we'll begin with item 10.1A, which is a public hearing for 3575 Mendocino Avenue, a general plan amendment, rezoning and tentative map. And Amy Nicholson is our presenting planner. So with that, I'll turn it over to staff. Oh, wait, excuse me. It is an ex parte disclosure. And so with that, Commissioner Carter, anything to disclose?
For item 10.1A, I have visited the site, had a brief conversation with one of the applicants, and also saw the item when it came to the Waterways Committee. I have nothing further to disclose.
Commissioner Duggan.
For item 10.1A, I had a Zoom meeting with the applicant's representative and have nothing further to disclose, and nothing to disclose on B or C.
Okay. And Commissioner Okrepke, and you only need to do the disclosure for this particular item. I'll ask for it separately each time. So.
I met with representatives for the applicant via Zoom and have visited the site.
Great. Commissioner Peterson.
I also met with the applicant via Zoom to discuss the project. I didn't learn any new non-public information, and I also visited the site.
Vice Chair Weeks.
I also met with the applicant's representatives via Zoom and visited the site, and nothing further to disclose.
And I also met with the applicant's representative by Zoom, visited the site, and have no new information to disclose. And so with that, I will now turn it over to Ms. Nicholson.
Good evening, Chair Cisco and members of the Commission. The item before you is part of the Fall 2020 General Plan Amendment Package and includes the project of 3575 Mendocino Avenue.
Hold on, Amy. We are not able to, your audio cut out. If you can start the presentation over.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, great. Good evening, Chair Cisco and members of the Commission. The item before you is part of the Fall 2020 General Plan Amendment Package and includes the project at 3575 Mendocino Avenue. The project represents up to 14.5% of the city's market rate housing goal by 2022, and also 9.8% of the very low and low income housing goal. The project consists.
If you can hold off one second, we're seeing your full project. If you can go into the slide mode, I think the screen that's being shared isn't the presentation mode.
Sure what is going on. Give me just a moment to figure out what's going on with the shared screen.
No problem. Thank you.
Are you seeing the full presentation?
Yes.
Currently?
That is
Okay,
perfect.
great.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will walk into the next slide here, which includes progress toward the city's housing action plan. And the proposal represents up to 14.5% of the city's market rate housing goal by the year 2022. And also 9.8% of the very low and low income goal. The development includes up to 532 multifamily housing units and 162 of those would be dedicated to low and very low income senior households. In addition, up to 370 market rate housing units would be provided. The project also includes a 1-acre park with public access, in addition to necessary improvements for the subdivision, including public improvements, landscaping throughout the project site and perimeter, and also a stormwater outfall into Russell Creek. This graphic shows the proposed site plan and also the location of existing bus stops. There is the high frequency bus stop on Bicentennial Lane and the proposed relocation of the bus stop along Mendocino Avenue, which is currently shown in magenta, but would be moved closer to the senior housing component of the project shown in orange. The approvals before the Planning Commission this evening include a recommendation to the Council on a Sustainable Communities Environmental Assessment, also called a SKIA, and this is for CEQA compliance. The project also includes a general plan amendment to change the land use designation on the site from mobile home park to transit village medium, in addition to a zoning map amendment to change the zoning district of the site from rural residential to transit village residential, with a senior housing combining district applied to a 2.5 acre portion of the site, and also the resilient city combining district applied throughout the site. The project also includes a tentative map, which is divided into 2 phases. One would be for the senior housing component and the other for the market rate component. Design review will also be required for this project. The city currently has the design review submittal for the senior housing portion of the project. The market rate design review has not yet been submitted. The project site is located at 3575 Mendocino Avenue, just east of Highway 101 and south of the Mendocino Avenue overcrossing. The project site is located within one of the city's priority development areas called the Mendocino Avenue Corridor PDA. And PDAs are areas where residential growth is envisioned, and those are also places where access to high frequency transit is existing. This aerial photograph is from February of this year, and it shows that the project site is primarily vacant. The site was impacted by the Tubbs fire in 2017, and at that time 116 of the mobile homes were destroyed. The remaining mobile homes that are shown in this aerial photograph were removed from the project site in July of this year. In January of 2020, the City Council approved the Journeys End Mobile Home Park Relocation Impact Report. And following that action, and a neighborhood meeting and also concept design review were held for the project. Following those 2 pre-application meetings, the necessary entitlement applications were submitted to the Planning and Economic Development Department. And in March, a notice of application was distributed to not only surrounding property owners and tenants, but also to all former residents of the Journeys End Mobile Home Park. In August, the project was reviewed by the Waterways Advisory Committee, and in September, updated project plans and an updated project description were submitted. The public hearing and also the intent to adopt the SKIA was distributed both by mail and also by an on-site sign on September 25th. And on September 28th, the 30-day public review period for the environmental document commenced. The project site currently has a general plan land use designation of mobile homes, and the proposed development would require a general plan amendment to transit village medium. This land use designation allows for between 25 and 40 units per acre on sites within a half mile of high frequency transit. The project is consistent with the required density for the proposed land use designation and also meets a number of the city's general plan goals and policies as it relates to providing housing, in particular housing for special needs groups. It also is consistent with a number of greenhouse gas reduction policies by providing high density housing in close proximity to transit and also with nearby services. The zoning for the project site is rural residential with the Resilient City Combining District. The Resilient City Combining District was formed following the Tubbs fire to increase the resilience of the area and encourage rebuilding. What this combining district does is it allows for a reduced review authority for design review entitlements. And so the design review entitlement for the affordable component, which the city is currently in receipt of, would be reviewed by the director. This ordinance has since been amended by the council, and so the review process for any additional projects on the site would be subject to the newly adopted ordinance. The proposed zoning district for the site is Transit Village Residential, retaining that Resilient City Combining District. And then there's also the Senior Housing Combining District, which would be applied to a 2.5 acre portion of the site in the southeast corner. This is required to allow for the senior housing parking provisions to apply to that particular area, which would be rezoned to include that combining district. The project has been found to be consistent with each of the development standards in the TVR zoning district, including lot coverage, setbacks, and lot size. However, the vehicle parking development standard is not met by the proposed project, and the applicant has requested a concession, which is allowed under the inclusionary housing ordinance, and I'll be speaking more about this later on in the presentation. The project complies with the California Environmental Quality Act by providing what is called a Sustainable Communities Environmental Assessment, or a SCIA. And this was created by Senate Bill 375, which coordinates land use development and infrastructure investment to help meet California's greenhouse gas emission reduction mandate. It does this by integrating land use, housing, transportation, and greenhouse gas reduction. And the bill establishes specific concepts such as the sustainable community strategies, alternative planning strategies, and transit priority projects. The benefit of providing a SCIA for CEQA compliance is that there is not a need to repeat analysis of any growth-inducing effects and greenhouse gas effects from cars or light trucks, and there is not a need to include a less dense alternative to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. There is also no need to require analysis of any impacts to regional roadway networks. A SCIA is similar in many ways to a negative declaration or mitigated negative declaration, except for the following points. One is that cumulative effects mitigated in a prior EIR, such as the sustainable community strategy that was done for this region, are not required to be considered cumulatively. In addition, the point that was just made that there is not a need to repeat that growth-inducing effect analysis, nor the impact to regional transportation networks. One way that a SCIA is more like an EIR is that the substantial evidence test applies, not the fair argument. And then finally, because the city does not have a specific procedure in place to adopt a SCIA, the council would need to be the review authority. So the Planning Commission would be making a recommendation on this document, much like an EIR. in order to qualify for a SKIA document, a project must meet a number of qualifications. One is that it's considered a transit priority project. And this, in this case, the project meets that definition. It is a residential project. It is within a half mile of a high quality transit corridor and provides a minimum of 20 units per acre. In addition, it has been found to be consistent with the sustainable community strategy with an EIR. The SKIA must incorporate all feasible mitigation measures and performance standards or criteria that are located within the EIR for the sustainable community strategy, and it also must find that all impacts are less than significant. The SKIA drafted for this project was circulated on September 28th through October 27th. There were no written comments received from state agencies nor from members of the public. There are a number of mitigation measures within the SKIA, and they are shown in the topical areas on the slide. I do want to note that there are two modifications to the mitigation measures. Both are clarifications, and I'm going to read through those at the end of this presentation. The site plan shown on the screen here shows that the site would be accessed from 2 points on Mendocino Avenue. The public street shown on the lower portion of the screen would provide access to the senior housing component located in the southeast corner, and also to the Central Park area. The remaining streets throughout the development would be considered private. The market rate housing is located in the other parts of the site, and again, the particular design of that part of the project has not yet been submitted. The tentative map before the commission is proposes 2 phases and 8 separate lots. The Central Park that is proposed would be on lot 7. And the first phase of the development includes that senior housing component in addition to the public street. The project includes a 1-acre private park, which would have a public access easement over it. So while the park would be privately improved and maintained, any member of the public would be available or would be able to utilize that park, and the park would include some active recreation space and also some passive recreation space. The project also includes private outdoor space specifically for the residents, and you can see on the senior housing component that there's private open space throughout that development. The project does comply with the city's requirement that any new residential project contributes to the development of park and recreational facilities throughout either the dedication of land or also the payment of fees. This project, based on the 1-acre public park, would receive a 100% credit for the park impact fee for the senior housing component, and then also a 45% credit would be provided to the park impact fees for the market rate development. The city has an inclusionary housing ordinance, which requires that any project contribute to the need for affordable housing within the city. This project provides a total of 22% of the total units as affordable, and so it does exceed the thresholds required by that ordinance. The ordinance itself does allow for affordable housing units to be concentrated in one area of the project site if this is required due to funding, and that is the case with this project here. Based on compliance with the inclusionary housing ordinance, the project is entitled to receive one concession. A concession can be a development standard, and in this case, the applicant has requested a vehicle parking reduction. They must provide a demonstration that the concession would result in a cost reduction, and the applicant has provided that information, and that is included as an attachment to your staff report. The zoning code section that speaks to concessions states that the city shall grant a concession requested by an applicant unless the city can make a written finding that either the concession does not result in actual cost reductions or that the concession would have a specific or adverse impact on public health or safety or the physical environment, or any other concession that would be contrary to state or federal law. Planning staff has found that the project has demonstrated the cost reduction and that none of these findings can be made. In response to a public comment early in the planning review process, an emergency preparedness plan was submitted by the applicant. It is comprehensive and outlines the roles of emergency coordinators and available resources, in addition to necessary measures to be taken following a number of emergencies, including wildfires, extended power outages, and gas explosions. The plan also includes building evacuation plans in addition to shelter-in-place procedures. There have been a number of public comments received throughout the review of this project, and those started with the neighborhood meeting that was held in February. Some of those comments included support of the low-income senior housing component. There were suggestions that the parking for both vehicles and bicycle spaces could be further reduced and that the building height could be increased, that the remaining mobile homes could be donated, and that the applicant could coordinate with Kaiser to encourage housing of medical employees. The evacuation plan that I previously discussed was requested following the notice of application, and following the notice of public hearing, there were many comment letters received and passed on to the Planning Commission in support of the high-density residential project. With that, the Planning and Economic Development Department is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the Council of the Sustainable Communities Environmental Assessment, the General Plan Amendment, rezoning, and tentative map. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and we also have various city staff here as well. I also wanted to mention that Stantec, which is the environmental consultant who prepared the SKIA document, is also available for any specific questions. Thank you.
Great. Commissioners, I'm inclined to have us hold our questions till after the applicant presentation and the public hearing. If nobody has some, vice chair week.
Amy, were you going to tell us about the revised mitigation measures?
Yes, I will read through those.
Yeah, I'd like to hear those if that's okay before we hear the public comment.
Absolutely. I have those available. Okay, so the first condition would be, it is related to one of the mitigation measures in the SKIA, but it would be a condition added to the tentative map resolution, and it would read as follows. The Cultural Resources Monitoring Plan, as identified in mitigation measure CUL-2 in the SKIA, shall incorporate all actions agreed upon between the City of Santa Rosa and Greater Rancheria during consultation. And just a little bit of background on this. The SKIA document does include a requirement for a Cultural Resources Monitoring Plan, and that's the one named in CUL-2. However, this is necessary just to provide that extra level of detail to ensure that anything agreed upon is put into that plan for future staff that are going to be reviewing this project. And then the second change would be to the SKIA resolution, and this relates to mitigation measure bio 3, and it takes out the word permanent. So I'm going to read the condition as proposed. So it states, following the completion of construction, temporary impacts to the perennial stream, parentheses Russell Creek, shall be restored to return the impacted area to pre-construction conditions, including grading and revegetation using a local native seed mix. Permanent impacts to the perennial stream and emergent wetland shall be mitigated at a 1-to-1 ratio through the purchase of wetland mitigation credits at a local mitigation bank approved by the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. The change to the language there does not in any way change the analysis of the environmental document. There was just an extra word that made its way in there that kind of changed the meaning there, and so we wanted to make sure that it was very clear, and so that's the reason for that change.
Okay, any other quick clarifying questions? Okay, is the applicant here and wanting to make a presentation?
Yes, you can hold on one second.
Sure.
All right, we just gave permission to Karen Massey. You have the ability to mute and unmute yourself.
Great, thank you so much. I assume you can hear me?
Can.
Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Cisco and members of the commission. My name is Karen Massey. I'm the project manager for 3575 Mendocino Avenue. We are extremely pleased to be here today. This project represents 3 years of a lot of hard work on the part of the applicant, but as well as the city staff and the entire team. We're really excited to be able to bring this project to you, and moreover to be able to rehouse folks back on the site. It's been a long time, and the displaced residents we know would love to be able to return home. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our project team. With us this afternoon is Larry Florin, Ann Silverberg, and Efren Carrillo. They are representatives from Burbank Housing as well as Related California, and are the affordable housing developer for the project. Also with us today is Ramsey Shuaito. He is the property owner, and Ramsey's family has owned the property since the 1950s and was responsible for the original construction of the mobile home park. We're also joined by our full bevy of consultants. Our architects, engineers, landscape architects, and traffic engineers are with us. So they'd be happy to answer any questions for you as we move forward in the process. You will note that a market rate developer is not part of the project at this moment, but after we complete our entitlements, the property owner envisions taking the project to market. And so hopefully in early 2021, we will have a market rate developer join the team. Next slide, please. I also want to acknowledge our many, many community partners that have supported us over the last 3 years, not only the project and it moving forward, but also the prior residents. You're looking at many of the agencies that have offered support to this process and this project. And as Amy mentioned in her staff report, we have received almost 20 letters of support on the project. Next slide. Next slide, please. So I certainly don't want to duplicate what Amy said, but I do want to share with you some of the site context that we considered as we moved forward with developing our site plan. Amy mentioned that the site is located on the Mendocino Avenue corridor priority development area, which is an area that is intended for increased residential development and specifically near transit. The site does have ample access to transit and alternative modes of transportation. It is located within a half a mile from the Bicentennial Way Transit Corridor, which is one of the city's highest quality transit corridors with 15-minute headways. There are also 6 bus stops in the vicinity of our project, as well as Class 2 bike lanes and connections to SMART. With regards to the built context, we are working with a previously developed infill site. There's a tremendous amount of existing infrastructure in the area that can be optimized and better utilized for redevelopment of the site. And then we are also adjacent to Kaiser Permanente Hospital, which is 4 to 5 stories in height and offers a strong built form for compatibility with our height. Next slide, please. The site also offers opportunities for jobs housing synergy. Within a 2-mile radius, there are 6 major employers of the site. The site has great proximity to neighborhood amenities, including a grocery store and obviously the medical services that are immediately adjacent to us to the south. And then finally, the site is located at the intersection of 3 of the city's identified evacuation routes, Mendocino Avenue, Highway 101, and the Fountain Grove Parkway. And all of these characteristics really make this a key opportunity site for a transit priority project. Next slide, please. In addition to looking at the site context, we reviewed the city's goals and objectives and found that the city is really looking to foster compact development patterns and encouraging high density and in particular affordable housing in areas such as this priority development area. The goal is really to place housing next to transit facilities, shopping, and employment on major arterials. And so you'll see that the master plan aligns well with the goals and objectives of the cities. The city also recognizes that sometimes parking can be an impediment to projects. And so there are policies within the general plan that speak to helping to facilitate the development of housing and in particular affordable housing by providing relief to the parking requirements. As Amy mentioned, we are seeking a concession for parking on the project. Next slide, please. We really focused our core design principles on the site in 3 areas. The first was transit-oriented development. Obviously, we wanted to optimize and maximize the site's location and its proximity to transit. We are also proposing to relocate the bus stop on our project frontage and enhance it so it is more user-friendly. We've also focused on health, wellness, and sustainability. We really wanted to create a neighborhood that was inclusive and represented diversity both for all ages and as well as incomes. And so we've also incorporated a number of indoor and outdoor opportunities for recreation. And we've prepared a health action plan through the Enterprise Community Foundation that assesses the health needs of seniors and seeks to program and provide support for any health issues that are identified as a result. The third design principle that we incorporated into the site plan was really the idea of resiliency and preparedness. We recognize the history of the site as being impacted in the 2017 Tubbs fire, and as such, it was really important to us that we designed a site that adequately addressed access as well as the needs of future residents. So we integrated a number of building safety mechanisms, including backup power, fire-resistant landscaping, and other mechanisms to ensure that we were designing as safe of a site as possible. We've also prepared an emergency response and preparedness plan so that future residents know how to respond in the event of an emergency so that they can adequately evacuate from the site. Next slide, please. So Amy presented the master plan earlier. I'll just go over this quickly. We are proposing up to 532 multifamily units. 30% of those affordable units would be for seniors. We have developed the site plan around a 1 acre central park, again, back to the key design principle of health and wellness, giving folks a place to congregate and socialize and also recreate. We have included 3 points of access. The main entry is a full public street and then 2 private driveways. Fire code only requires 2 points of access for the site, but we felt that it was extremely important that there was adequate ingress and egress to the site, so we went ahead and included the 3rd point of access. As Amy mentioned, we are also requesting a 25% parking reduction. That was our original request when we submitted the application to the city, and the proposal at that time was to provide 719 parking spaces. Next slide, please. As we conducted our public outreach for the process and reached out to our neighbors, specifically Kaiser, they expressed a concern about our request for the parking reduction and asked if we would consider looking at our site plan to see if we could add additional parking spaces back into the site plan. So you can see on the site plan on the right-hand side, the areas shown in tan or orange are areas that we were able to add additional parking back into the site plan, and that totals an additional 84 spaces, which reduces our parking reduction request down to 16.2% from 25%, and increases the number of parking spaces that are proposed to 803. And I'm pleased to be able to share that Kaiser was very happy that we were able to amend the site plan and add the additional parking. And there is a letter of support from Kaiser in your agenda packet. Next slide, please. Just wanted to share a little bit of more detail with you about the Central Park. There are areas for passive as well as active recreation, and it really is envisioned as a central gathering area for the community to come together. And you can see some of the character images on the right-hand side to give you a sense of the type of community that we're working to build. Next slide, please. So the affordable housing component is located in the southeast corner of the site. It is comprised of 162 units. It will be divided into 3 separate buildings, and those buildings will be 3 to 4 stories in height. The units will all be 1 and 2 bedroom units, since we are working with a senior demographic, and they will be 530 to 800 square feet in size roughly. We've included many amenities in the senior facility, as you would expect to see, both indoor and outdoor, multi-purpose rooms, health and wellness rooms, outdoor courtyards, as well as community gardens. Next slide, please. This slide gives you a perspective on what the senior affordable housing would look like, looking southwest across Mendocino Avenue. Next slide. Wanted to share with you some of the affordability component of the project. The project will be affordable to lower income seniors. Almost 75% of the units will be affordable to seniors in the extremely low and very low income categories, meaning that the rents will be between $587 to $1,209 per month, depending upon income, and then also whether the unit is a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. So these units are anticipated to be affordable to seniors earning between $15,000 a year and approximately $51,000 a year. So we've really tried to reach the deepest level of affordability and make sure that we're targeting seniors across the spectrum. Importantly, we are also looking to invite the prior Journey's End residents back to the site, and we are hoping that they will be interested in returning to the property. Next slide, please. The market rate rental housing makes up the remainder of the site. It's envisioned to be constructed with up to 370 units. It will follow the Transit Village residential development standards and be constructed with multiple buildings up to 3 and 4 stories in height, up to a total gross square footage of 510,000 square feet. It will include a mix of bed count, so 65% is envisioned to be larger units of 2 and 3 bedrooms, and the remainder would be smaller units for singles and couples. Next slide, please. The market rate component will have to come back to the city at a future date for design review approval, but we have designed the project in a way so that the market rate and the affordable share common design principles. There will be multiple buildings in the market rate component, and the buildings are envisioned to have similar articulation, include a variety of materials, also be oriented onto the street in the Central Park, have parking located to the rear, and then obviously connections to open space and transit to support the TOD concept. Next slide, please. This is a view from the Central Park looking northwest towards the market rate units to give you a sense of the community. Next slide, please. And then finally, next steps, the process moving forward. After we receive our recommendation from the Planning Commission tonight, we'll be moving forward to the City Council in early December. Following that, we will be completing director level final design review with staff. Concurrently, we will be applying for state and federal funds, both tax credits as well as community development block grant disaster relief funds. Actually, currently we are underway on our design development and construction documents for the project because we have a construction start date that is required under our funding sources of September 2021. So the affordable component will actually be the first component envisioned to be out of the ground on this project. Next steps for the market rate component, the property owner will be working to identify a market rate developer, and we are optimistic that we will be able to identify that partner in early 2021. So with that, I believe, I should share, next slide is fine. Thank you, Amy. I should share that we have reviewed the additional condition of approval related to the cultural resources that Ms. Nicholson shared, as well as the revision to the mitigation measure related to the biology, and we are in agreement with those recommendations. So with that, I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you have, and we also have our full consultant team here to assist as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Massey. And again, commissioners, any quick clarifying questions of the applicant before we go to the public hearing? Okay, great, not seeing any. All right, so with that, this is a public hearing tonight. If you're a member of the public wishing to speak on this item, you can raise your hand through Zoom, or if you're calling in by phone, hit *9, and you'll be recognized by the host and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. There'll be a little timer on the screen for you to follow to know when your time is coming to an end. With that, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair Cisco. We have a few hands raised, so I'm going to go in the order that I see them.
Okay.
And the first one is listed as one name, Terry Shore. There's one word, excuse me. So Terry Shore, you have the ability to mute and unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Chair Krupke and Planning Commissioners, staff, and members of the public. My name is Terry Shore. I am the Advocacy Director for Greenbelt Alliance. Greenbelt Alliance endorsed and supports the project before you this evening. We put the project through our Public Policy Committee, which consists of a number of planning professionals and architects and others, and we're able to ask questions of Ms. Massey and Burbeck Housing. So they were very pleased overall with the project. We also are very appreciate the fact that Burbank Housing did reach out to Greenbelt Alliance early on in the project. We realized it was a controversial project in a very high profile location at Journey's End that was impacted with the fires. So there are many issues and concerns that had to be worked out. So we do really appreciate all the work that Burbank Housing has done with the community, as well as the city of Santa Rosa, our elected officials, and the Planning Commission to move this project forward. So thank you very much. Greenbelt Alliance endorses and is in support.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And next we have a phone caller with the last 4 digits of 5339. So if you can please state your name for the record, and I've given you permission to speak. You may have to press *6 to do so. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, this is Linda Adrian. I'm a former resident of Journey's End. And I get emotional about it, but anyone who knows me knows that's the way I am. Anyway, I lost my home. I definitely want to move back there. I think it's a fantastic and convenient location. The freeway entrance is just down there. The Kaiser's next door. Trader Joe's is across the freeway. Safeway is down the street. Gas station is down the street. It's a really handy location, and easy access. Fountain grows over the hill, and it's a really good location for seniors, especially I am a senior, and I really encourage you to accept this and okay it, and so they can get on and get it built. I don't know quite what else to say other than I think there's a lot of people that can live there, and I think many of the past residents might consider moving back because it is a good location, and it's like everything is included in the property, so doesn't for seniors. That's really handy and convenient because you don't have to try and find places to go. I think the new layout that's been presented is perfect and will work really well with it. Anyway, please approve it. I appreciate having been able to speak about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next on the list is Ananda Sweet. I'll give you permission to speak, and you can start when ready.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair Cisco and Commissioners. My name is Ananda Sweet. I'm with the Santa Rosa Metro Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to express the Metro Chamber's support of the redevelopment project at 3575 Mendocino Avenue. As you well know, Santa Rosa was facing a housing shortage before October of 2017, when our crisis was magnified overnight, including the loss of Journey's End Mobile Home Park. The proposed redevelopment of this site aligns with the City of Santa Rosa's fire recovery goals, and this project represents the exact type of investment that we need in Santa Rosa while addressing our critical housing shortage. Santa Rosa's housing shortage is the greatest threat to our long-term economic and cultural success. It's impeding business growth and causing economic, community health, and environmental damage as our residents struggle to access adequate housing or are forced to commute long distances. The result is increased air pollution and traffic congestion, growing inequity, and reduced productivity. Housing is one of the largest challenges for local employers who need to recruit and retain employees in order to stay and grow in Santa Rosa. The development of both affordable and market rate housing is vital to address these challenges, and an increase in housing near transit, retail, and major employers will bring tremendous returns to Santa Rosa. Placing high-density housing at this location is exactly the type of development we need in our community, and we urge you to support this project. Thank you.
You.
Thank you. Next, we will have a Luke Lindenbush. And Luke, you can unmute it when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, my name is Luke Lindenbush with Generation Housing. I'm calling in tonight to express Generation Housing's strong support for 3575 Mendocino Avenue. And I want to start with a personal note. My grandmother moved from Missouri to Santa Rosa after the death of her husband earlier than she had expected when she was 55 years old. She yearned to be close to my parents, but found limited housing opportunities that she could afford here in Sonoma County. My grandmother lived the last 15 years of her life in an affordable mobile home in Santa Rosa, just like those that once stood at Journey's End. Without this opportunity, the end of her life journey would have looked very different. I would not have grown up knowing my grandmother, and she likely would have died alone, thousands of miles away from family. But she didn't. And that is the power of affordable senior housing in keeping families together. And it's largely why I'm a housing advocate here in Sonoma County today. The loss of Journey's End was among the greatest tragedies of the Tubbs fire. Yet I was hopeful that a greater opportunity for elder Santa Rosans to live with safety and dignity would arise from these ashes. 3575 Mendocino will accomplish exactly that. The project under consideration this evening will allow this site to be reborn with more affordable homes for seniors than stood before, with greater amenities and the access to medical facilities and public transit that render the site viable and desirable for senior housing. Moving forward, the residents of 370 new market rate homes will benefit from a central location in one of the largest job clusters in Sonoma County. Ambitious projects like this one embody the spirit of Generation Housing. They allow our community to live intergenerationally and increase the supply, affordability, and diversity of housing options in Santa Rosa and Sonoma County as a whole. Thank you very much to the applicant team, Burbank Housing and Related California, and Senior Planner Amy Nicholson for thorough work on this very important proposal. Generation Housing enthusiastically recommends the approval of 3575 Mendocino Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And with that, Chair Cisco, no one else is raising their hands at this time.
Okay. So with that, I will go ahead and close our public hearing and get back to the commissioners. I didn't hear any questions that staff or the applicant needs to answer for the public. Commission, any questions for the applicant? And then we'll move to questions for staff. Commissioner Peterson.
I just wanted to see if the applicant could explain a little bit more about the parking reduction, the change to the parking reduction, why it went from 25% to 16.8%, sort of what the reasoning, at least on the part of Kaiser, was.
Sure, happy to respond to that question in a little bit more detail. So the concern about the parking reduction really came up when we approached Kaiser with the proposal for the project. We shared the site plan with them. And at that time, they conveyed to us that they have some parking challenges on their site. And they work hard to monitor their parking and make sure that their patients have adequate access to parking so that they can get to the services that they need. So they were concerned specifically that a parking reduction on the 3575 Mendocino site could result in our residents utilizing their parking facilities and then walking back to the project site. So that was really kind of the genesis of the conversation, and which led us to go back to the site plan and see if there was an opportunity to add any additional parking into the plan. We obviously recognize that we're going to be neighbors for a very long time, and we want to make sure that we have a good relationship and that there are no concerns going forward. So we were happy to look at the site plan and pleased that we were able to achieve so many more spaces.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Ms. Nancy or her team? Okay, Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, this may require some input from staff because it's related to the CEQA document. So one of the impacts, the air quality, the air 2 mitigation measure primarily reduces the potential impact, the TAC risk areas, the exposure of residents to possible air quality, lower air quality. It lists a number of measures included in the mitigation measure, primarily maintenance of a good HVAC system in the housing. But there's also a list of pollution reducing plants that could be used along the edge of the site or close to the generating, the air quality generation areas, specifically the freeway. And I'm wondering if there was any consideration. I realize that the measures listed in the mitigation measures don't have to all be incorporated, but I don't see any of those plants in the landscape plan. And I was wondering if there was ever any consideration of incorporating those landscape elements to that mitigation measure.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. That's a great question. The landscape palette that is shown on the landscape plan is preliminary in nature. So this question also came up at the Creeks and Waterway Committee as to whether or not it was final. And so we are happy to take a look at that palette and see if there are other species that more closely align with the goals that you're looking to achieve.
And a follow-up question, the design review will be a director's review, is that correct?
Yes, this is Amy Nicholson. That is correct for the affordable component.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant before we move to questions of staff? Okay, not seeing any questions of staff. Vice Chair Weeks.
Amy, you mentioned that there's no policy for approval for the SIA document, so therefore it has to go to council. Is there, since this is a relatively new type of document, is there an idea that there would be some policy where it wouldn't end up having to go to council?
From my understanding, and I'll let maybe Bill or Ashley elaborate on this too, that is something that is allowed under the law so long as our city code is updated to reflect that process. And I'm not sure if Bill or Ashley want to add anything to that.
Good evening, Chair Cisco, members of the commission. This is Bill Rose. Vice Chair Weeks, would you mind repeating that question for me?
Sure. Amy mentioned that because the city does not have a policy regarding the SIA document, approval of the SIA document, that it would need to go to council. So we're recommending approval to council. Or maybe I heard it wrong, what she said. Is there does approval of the SIA document, will it always have to go to council?
You know, I'm not sure on that exactly. So
that's okay. It was just it just came out of my mind as, huh.
I think Ashley might be able to answer that for us, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can chime in a bit, Vice Chair Weeks. It is true, as Ms. Nicholson stated, in the public resources code sections addressing these sustainable communities environmental assessments, it does require that in order for the lead agency to approve that document, the public hearing must be conducted by its legislative body, unless the city has a local ordinance allowing a different process for approval by the Planning Commission with a direct appeal to the council. So that's the statutory construct that we're working within. And then to your question, could we change that in the future? Yes, we could amend our codes to allow for that approval process by the Planning Commission. And it may be something that we indeed would like to consider and approve as we start seeing more of these documents.
Somebody else raised their hand for Commissioner Duggan.
Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Nicholson. So I know that we only have the affordable housing component is the applicant here, and they have not identified a market rate developer yet. but we've got a lot of particulars that are being described for the market rate component. And I'm wondering what changes could a future market rate developer want to make to these details that would trigger additional review. Like if they wanted to propose fewer housing units or fewer parking spaces, or the location or the type, the size or the layout of the central park element, like what exactly would trigger additional review? And who would that be done by? Would it come back to us for the market rate component, or would it go director level, or how would that happen?
The design details, including the location of the buildings and the number of parking spaces, would be considered as a part of the design review approval for the market rate component. If anything that ties back to the tentative map, for example, like the layout of the lots, and that also includes the park, that may, if there's a change there, require review before the commission once again. But many of the details proposed are within the design review realm, and so those would be acted on during that entitlement process.
Any other questions of staff? Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, the staff report characterized the dispersion and concurrency requirements of the inclusionary housing ordinance as being waived for this project. It showed up on the concessions slide for the presentation. Could we just get a little clarification as to whether or not that's a concession that the findings need to be made for, or it's a director level waiver, or and in the presentation today, it said the ordinance allows for it. So I'd just like a little clarification on what mechanism allows that that change. It looks like the concurrency is not going to be a problem if the affordable component leads, but the dispersion requirements obviously can't be met.
Sure. I'm searching for the.
Do you want me to address that when you're
code
looking?
section here? Sure, Ashley, thank you.
I'm looking at code section 2102-100, and it speaks to the allocated units shall be distributed throughout the residential project. However, and I think this is your question here, Commissioner, is that exceptions may be granted by the Director of Planning and Economic Development, where the dispersion is constrained by financing, which I think Ms. Nicholson spoke to earlier. And I don't want to step on her toes, so if she's ready and wants to chime in some more, unless that answered your question.
Well, I think it did. I was just curious about whether it was a formal action by the director to grant that waiver, but there's no, it didn't seem as formal as the parking concession to me. And I wanted some clarification. I think you answered the question. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Any other questions of the applicant before we go to our decision? Okay, great. So we'll bring it to the commission for discussion. We have 4 resolutions. The first one being the resolution regarding the SKIA document. And if you wouldn't mind, Ms. Nicholson, if you would read again what we should be changing to that resolution so that who's ever brave enough to tackle reading the resolution can just refer to your words.
Yes. Okay, so the added condition, which would change the Bio 3 mitigation measure, reads as follows. Following the completion of construction, temporary impacts to the perennial stream, parentheses, Russell Creek, shall be restored to return the impacted area to pre-construction conditions, including grading and revegetation using a local native seed mix. Permanent impacts to the perennial stream and emergent wetland shall be mitigated at a 1-to-1 ratio through the purchase of wetland mitigation credits at a local mitigation bank by North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board.
Okay.
I may have forgotten the word approved, so the last sentence or last part should read mitigation credits at a local mitigation bank approved by North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioners, let's begin by reading the CEO resolution first, and we'll go ahead and discuss the project generally, but once we read that resolution for discussion, make sure that in your discussion of the project generally you indicate whether you can find the SIA document adequate or not and make those findings. So would somebody like to move that first resolution? Commissioner Duggan.
I will move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa making findings and recommending to the City Council approval of the Sustainable Communities Environmental Assessment, SCIA, and Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act for the 3575 Mendocino Avenue, file number PRJ 20-002, and incorporate adding the condition to the revised Bio3 mitigation measure as read up by Planner Nicholson and waive for the reading.
Great, thank you. And a second. Okay.
Second.
Okay, so that was moved by Commissioner Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Carter. And Vice Chair Weeks, would you like to start the discussion on this?
Sure. Well, first of all, I make all the findings for this resolution and for the SIA document. I think the project as a whole is really good. Really good. It's not a very good. I'm not very articulate for that site. It's as Ms. Adrian said, that it's near transportation. It's near stores. It's near Kaiser, other services. I think it will be an asset to the community, and it will, I think, in many ways help us heal. So I am supportive of this project and can make all the findings for the SIA document, which I must say was interesting. It was an interesting document versus CEQA. So that's my comment.
Commissioner Oprepke.
Yeah, I agree with Vice Chair Weeks that this is a very fitting project for this location. The sheer number of units at 532 is great, especially with 162 low to very low income units. And I'm pleased to hear that, unlike some other ones we've seen come before us before, that we'll be able to get some of those affordable units built before the market rate units. Plus the public improvements are great, and the design of it I think is good. And as Vice Chair Weeks touched on, this is important for our community to rebuild this site. And it's extremely important to the survivors of that location and the areas around it to get that burn scar taken care of and rebuilt to help everybody not get over but move past as well as we can what happened in 2017. So with the added conditions and the SIA documents, I'm okay with those, and I can make all the required findings to vote in favor of the project.
Commissioner Carter.
I too am in support of the project. as articulated by my fellow commissioners, and I can make all the findings necessary for the CEQA document, including the revised mitigation measures. I'll be supporting the project.
Mr. Peterson.
I think it's a great project. I think that it's been a very thoughtful design. I think the process has been great. I think the applicant has really, taken the steps to get the buy-in, get the endorsements of a lot of the local organizations, and I think that speaks to the quality of both the applicant and the team and the design itself. On the specific issue of the, I don't know if I should call it CEQA or SKIA or both documents, I can make all the required findings. A little nitpicky on the parking reduction. I understand Kaiser's position. I think that the applicant had a strong case to keep the full 25%. They've negotiated in good faith a reduction to the reduction, so I'm not going to second guess that. But, ideally, especially with a forward-looking community like this, we're not looking backwards with, things like parking and making everything very car-oriented. But overall, that's definitely not enough to affect my support of the overall project, and I can make all the required findings.
Mr. Duggan.
I can also make all the required findings for the SKIA document, including the revision or the additional the changes to Bio 3. I think it's a super exciting project. I think it's going to be a very nice addition to that corner. I love that they're going to prioritize the senior units for anybody who wants to return who lived at Journey's End. I think that's a wonderful asset to the community. Let's see, I can support the parking reduction. I can also see, I know from being a Kaiser member and what their parking is like on their site, I can understand that they don't want to have additional parking problems with people who aren't visiting doctors there parking on their site. So yeah, I'm in support of the project.
Okay. I also can make all of the findings for the SKIA document with the modifications added. This is just such an important project. I get emotional remembering Miss Adrian's testimony. I mean, this really is a project that it's in such a visible part of Santa Rosa. Not that we would ever forget the 2017 fires and the state of Coffee Park and everywhere else that was burned, but a lot of us are driving by that every day, and that it is a burn scar, and it is such an intense reminder of so many losses throughout the city. And to see this come forward, it's a project that it not only heals our past and hopefully lets the former residents have the opportunity to return to the place that they love, but it really propels us into our future of what we are asking for in our policies for utilizing the infrastructure and high-density housing where there is transit available. So I just really see it as just something that's just such an important project on so many levels, and I'm definitely in favor of that. So with that, I'm going to ask the recording secretary to take our votes.
Thank you, Chair Cisco. As usual, I'll go in alphabetical order, starting with Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
And with Commissioner Kelly abstaining, we're going to Commissioner Okrepke.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
And Chair Cisco?
Aye. And so with that, the SKIA resolution passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Kalia abstaining. Next, we move to our general plan amendment resolution. And so would somebody like to read that?
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council approval of a general plan amendment from Mobile Home Park to Transit Village Medium for the property at 3575 Mendocino Avenue, assessors parcel numbers 173-030-001 and 173-030-002, file numbers PRJ 20-002 and GPAM 20-001, and waive further reading.
And second. Okay, Vice Chair Weeks.
Second.
Okay, so that was moved by Commissioner Duggan, seconded by Vice Chair Weeks. Any other comments on the general plan amendment? Not seeing any. Okay, then I will ask the recording secretary to take our votes.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly abstained. Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Chair Cisco?
And I'm an aye also. So that passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Kalia abstaining. And next we move on to our rezoning resolution. So would somebody like to read that? Oh, you're really on it today. Thank you, Commissioner Duggan.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council rezoning of the property located at 3575 Mendocino Avenue, assessors parcel numbers 173-030-001 to the Transit Village Residential Resilient City TVR-RC and Transit Village Residential-Senior Housing Resilient City TVR-SH-RC districts, file numbers PRJ 20-002 and REZ 20-002, and waive further reading.
And a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so that was moved by Commissioner Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Carter. Any other comments on the rezoning? Not seeing any, so I'll ask the recording secretary to take our votes.
Thank you. Chair Carter? I'm sorry, Commissioner
I'm
Carter?
not the chair. Aye.
There's a lot of chairs tonight.
Commissioner Carter, aye. Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly abstained. Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
And Chair Cisco?
Aye, and that also passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Kalia abstaining. And then before we do our tentative map resolution, if you're still out there, Ms. Nicholson, I would like you to read into the record the change that you wanted to add to that resolution.
Yes, the condition would read, the Cultural Resources Monitoring Plan, as identified as CUL2 in the SKIA, shall incorporate all actions agreed upon between the City of Santa Rosa and Grayton Rancheria during consultation.
Great, thank you. So would somebody like to read that resolution? Yay. Commissioner Duggan.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council approval of the 3575 Mendocino Avenue project tentative map located at 3575 Mendocino Avenue, assessors parcel numbers 173-030-001 and 173-030-002, file numbers PRJ 20-002 and MAJ 20-001, with the language as read by Ms. Nicholson, and waive for the reading.
Great. And a second. Okay, Commissioner Okrepke. So that was moved by Commissioner Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Okrepke, and the recording secretary can take our votes, please.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalia abstained. Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Chair Cisco?
Aye. And so that also passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Kalia abstaining. And yeah, I believe that concludes that item. And yeah, that concludes our items. That was all of them. So that did pass with 6 ayes and Commissioner Kalia abstaining. So would you like to take a 5-minute break before? Yeah, okay, because Commissioner Okrepke needs to exit and Commissioner Kalia needs to re-enter as to for the abstention. So how about if we return at about 5:30 and be prepared to start again. So.
I did visit the site and have nothing further to report.
Commissioner Duggan.
I have no information to disclose.
Commissioner Collier.
I visited the site and have no new information to disclose.
And I also visited the site, met with the applicant and the representative by Zoom, and have no new information to disclose. So with that, we will move on to Susie Murray, who will be presenting staff report.
Chair Cisco, this is Staff Liaison Andrew Triple. Susie Murray is being promoted to a panelist to be able to provide her presentation. It'll be just a moment.
Okay, great. We're all learning a lot of patience in this, this type of mode. There she is.
Whoopsie. Okay, bear with me. I need to share my screen here. Can y'all see it?
Yes.
Okay. Part 2 of the Fall 2020 General Plan Amendment Package is the Yolanda Industrial Project. I'm having problems advancing my slides as well. There we go. Here we go. The Yolanda Industrial Project proposes general plan land use amendment and zoning amendments for 6 parcels. And there are 7 parcels actually involved in the project. So the rezoning and general plan land use amendments will allow cannabis-related uses as well as other light industrial uses for 6 parcels that don't already have that light industrial zoning. The Planning Commission is being asked to make 3 recommendations to the City Council. The first one is for a mitigated negative declaration. The mitigated negative declaration has an expanded scope, and that's where the 7 parcels comes in. It involves, I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get further into my slide, because I've got a graphic that supports it. Then as far as the general plan amendment is concerned, it proposes changing the designation for retail and business services and medium high density residential to light industry. There are currently 5 of the 6 parcels have retail and business services land use designation, and the 6th is medium high density residential. So all of the 6 parcels involved in that have zoning that is consistent with their respective general plan land use designations now. So there are 6 parcels that will go from the general commercial zoning district, and I'm sorry, 5 from the general commercial zoning district, and 1 from the multifamily residential zoning district, and will be shifted into the light industrial zoning district. So this slide is one that you normally see when we are proposing housing. And in this case, we are not proposing housing, but what it shows us is our regional housing needs allocation, or our RHNA numbers. The project proposes changing one of the parcels involved is a half-acre property, and it is currently has that medium high density residential land use designation. It's got the potential with its current zoning to develop 6 residential units. The general plan provides a table that calculates how the city will meet those RHNA requirements. This parcel was not included in that table, and I wanted to highlight that for you. Here's an aerial view of the project site. The project site is highlighted in yellow. I also wanted to include the parcel numbers just to clarify, because there's some pretty interesting addressing going on in this stretch of Yolanda Road or Yolanda Avenue. There is a lot of project history for these 7 parcels. I've highlighted in yellow the ones that really pertain to the general plan amendment and the rezoning before you this evening. So back in September of 2018, the applicant had pre-application meeting with staff to kind of look at the general plan amendment and the rezoning and the scope of the project. 4 days later, a general plan application was submitted to Planning and Economic Development. The following January, the companion rezoning application was submitted. And then following August 2019, a neighborhood meeting was held to introduce the concept to neighbors. In this slide, I've put side by side the current general plan land use designations and zoning. It's also, I'd also like to mention that this project is within the Santa Rosa Avenue priority development area, but on the colorful image, the general plan land use designation, what you can see is that up in the upper right-hand corner, the northeast corner of the development site, which is outlined in black, is the gray, that light gray color. That is the light industry general plan land use designation. And that parcel is involved in this project, even though it's not involved in the rezoning and the general plan amendment. So the project has been found in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. An initial study was conducted, which resulted in a mitigated negative declaration, and that document was circulated for a 30-day public review period beginning on June 30th this year. Part of that document includes a mitigation monitoring and reporting program and addresses effects that could potentially be significant in air quality, cultural and tribal resources, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazardous materials, and noise. All of the mitigation measures established in that document would reduce any potential impacts to a level less than significant. So the mitigated negative declaration does have a broader scope beyond the general plan amendment and the rezoning. It also includes redevelopment of the buildings fronting the Yolanda Avenue. As shown in this graphic, on the top or the north side is where Yolanda Avenue is, and the new construction, the proposal was to demolish and reconstruct 2 new commercial buildings along that you'll be able to see from Yolanda. The existing businesses and the commercial buildings that are on the back side or the south side of the development area, there are no changes proposed in either use or the actual buildings. Late in the game, we had a couple issues come up related to the project site. The first one was the Senate Bill 330, or the Housing Crisis Act of 2019. And what that does is it tells agencies that they can't rezone properties or change the general plan land use designation on properties that are designated for housing development into other uses, commercial or industrial or other uses. And this parcel would, or we have that one parcel that's currently got that medium-high residential density land use designation. And again, it has the potential to develop 6 units. But that parcel is also landlocked, which I'm relatively sure is why it wasn't included in those RENA calculations that I mentioned earlier. But the Senate Bill 330 also says that if you have an offset as part of one general plan amendment or concurrent review of general plan amendments, that you can change that property from residential uses to other targeted uses. So this project is offset not just by the one you just heard about, 3575 Mendocino Avenue, but also by several thousand new units created by the downtown station area specific plan. There was also recently a stop work order issued from our code enforcement department for some work being done without benefit of permits. The zoning code doesn't allow us to go forward with any entitlement review unless it's to address those code enforcement issues. Since that happened and since the staff report was written, a building permit has been submitted to correct the outstanding violations. So we're good to go there. All public comments, or let's see, no public comments were received to date for this project. There was a small noticing defect. The on-site sign was posted 2 days late. It needed to be up by November 2nd, and it didn't go up till November 4th. And I would like to say that I'll take full credit for that. And the hustle and bustle of getting things out, we had the graphics made, and I neglected to send it to the applicant. Fortunately, the zoning code does allow the review authority to act with minor noticing defects. So with that, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the Planning Commission adopt 3 resolutions for the Yolanda Industrial Project, recommending to Council adoption of a mitigated negative declaration, approval of a general plan amendment, and approval of a rezoning. And that concludes my presentation. I know that the applicant has a brief presentation that they would like to make, and I'm available for questions if you have any.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Murray. Commissioners, any questions of Ms. Murray right now? As soon as I can get us back to the panel and can see you.
Planner Murray, if you can stop sharing your screen, please.
Great, there we are. Any clarifying questions of staff right now before we move on to the applicant presentation? Okay. All right. Would our applicant like to give us his presentation?
Give me 1 second while I load that up.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, no, I do. Never mind. I'm the challenged one in the department as far as technology goes. So I think that this is up and running now. Share screen. Can y'all see that okay?
And you did it.
Woohoo! And I don't know if has Alan been elevated?
Yes, all the applicants have the ability to mute and unmute themselves.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Chair Cisco and members of the commission. My name is Alan Henderson. I'm the applicant and the owner of this industrial park. I purchased it 20 years ago. I'm a local resident and I wanted to bring this park into a little better light since it's been a little dilapidated. The building on the left is a Malm Fireplace building. The buildings to the back of this photo all have small industrial tenants already there, furniture, RV specialists, Malm Fireplace. And so I wanted to get the entire business park under one zoning classification to allow more options when people wanted to become tenants of the park. And at the same time, fix up the building in the front, which is that little house in the lower part of the building, and then the building to the left, which is an old dilapidated building built in 1970 housing Malm Fireplaces. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So this is how the parcels look. And now we're looking backwards. Yolanda Avenue is up at the top of the screen, and the other three metal buildings are down at the bottom. And to the right is a small parking lot, which is the half-acre residential lot that borders an apartment complex to the right. And so Malm Fireplace is up on the upper right. And at the top of the screen is the little building that I wish to take down and make a retail building out of that that's a little more upscale and brings a little better design and influence to the lower end of Yolanda Avenue. Next screen, please. So this is that front area. This is a little used car lot that's housed in the little building, and then Malm Fireplace is there to the far left behind it. So that's an aerial view. Go ahead, next one. And this is kind of a ground view. So you can see that, it really doesn't show a lot of used cars. It's just not a really good use, especially with across the street when they're going to have the residential community being built there. So I'm looking to tear down this building, put in a nice retail, also tear down the Malm Fireplace building and put in a multi-tenant building back there, of which it'll look like this next slide. So that's what I'm proposing for Yolanda Avenue. So I think it'll have a big impact on, as you turn the corner off of Santa Rosa Avenue, it'll show some integrity and really fix up that property. The back buildings will remain the same. And so I would like to petition to the commission to allow me to change it to light industrial from the current conditions of general commercial. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Mr. Henderson. And again, when it returns to the commission panel, any questions of the applicant right now before we go to the public hearing? Not seeing any. Okay. This is another public hearing tonight. If you're a member of the public wishing to speak on this item and you're observing by Zoom, you can hit the raise hand feature. If you're calling in by phone, you need to hit *9 and you will be recognized by the host and given 3 minutes to speak. So with that, go ahead and open the public hearing.
Chair Cisco, at this time, no one is raising their hands.
Okay, I'll give it about another 10 seconds or so. And still nobody?
That is correct. No one is raising their hands at this time.
Okay, great. Then I'm going to go ahead and close that public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, any questions of the applicant or staff? Vice Chair Weeks.
Question of Ms. Murray. Because of the noticing defect, is there any language that we need to, if we decide to go forward, is there any language that we need to put in any of the resolutions?
I'm going to say no, because we've never done that before.
Any other questions? Oh, yep, Commissioner Kaya.
It's also a question for Susie. It's more of a general question as well, I guess. How long are essentially neighborhood meetings valid for? Because it was like in the project history, the neighborhood meeting was in August of 2019. I was just wondering, for my own curiosity, how long does it take, or when would trigger another neighborhood meeting requirement?
I don't know that the zoning code actually tells us how long they're good for, but if the project changes significantly, we would certainly have another meeting. In this case, there wasn't a whole lot of interest in the project, so.
Okay, and then just another clarifying question. With the rezone from general commercial light to light industrial, will all the existing businesses continue to be legal, or are there any that would be potentially like legal non-conforming?
Well, first, if there were a business that were operating legally now and we changed the general plan land use designation and the rezoning, they would be grandfathered in as legal non-conforming uses. But I think that I think that most of the uses that are out there now are almost more appropriate for the light industrial zoning district. They've been there for a very long time, but there is some manufacturing and auto repair and things like that, or RV, I guess, but that are really more appropriate for the light industry and light industrial land use zoning districts.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, I noticed that the medium-high residential property to the southeast has built fairly close to the property line. Can you tell me, Ms. Murray, if there's anything specific in the light industrial zoning or the cannabis code to address setbacks from light industrial structures or operations to residential structures?
So some of the protections that we have actually in the city code are, things like the noise ordinance and whatnot that would protect those residential uses from the impacts or noise impacts from commercial or light industrial uses. That particular property, that's at 368 Yolanda, and they're proposing a long, narrow light industrial building, but that building will not be home to any cannabis uses. The cannabis uses are proposed at that building that fronts Yolanda Avenue, and that's at 358, not 368. So there are protections. Any new construction, this project, by the way, has there are 2 design review applications that are currently under review. Those applications were considered in the scope of the mitigated negative declaration, and those will be scheduled, one before the zoning administrator because it's less than 10,000 square feet, and the other before the design review board because it's significantly larger than 10,000 square feet. As part of those hearings, we will look at, those review bodies will look at the setbacks and what have you. There was a slide, and I believe in the plans, a proposed site plan that might help you understand the circulation of the site. If I can figure out how to bring my slideshow back up, I could probably put that up on the screen if that would help.
Yeah, I trust our design review processes. I was just curious as to whether there was a specific side yard setback for light industrial to abutting residential. And if we don't know that off the top of our heads, it's fine.
It's more that it's determined through that design review process. And that's what that board will look at. And it's a really good question because it's always kind of a conundrum how you make that transition, but they've done it before.
Any other questions of staff or the applicant? Okay. So for this item, we have 3 resolutions, and beginning with the adoption of the mitigated negative declaration. So again, when we begin with that resolution, we'll go ahead and discuss the project generally, but if you'll also speak to finding the adequacy of the mitigated negative declaration. So would somebody like to read that first resolution? Vice Chair Weeks.
Give Commissioner Duggan a break.
Thanks. There's a lot of numbers. She needs a break.
Okay, I move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to Council adoption of a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the Yolanda Industrial Project located at 324. 324 is listed twice.
Just to clarify, that's why I included the assessor's parcel numbers. There are 2 buildings that have 324, and the 0 is the undeveloped site that has the residential designation.
Thank you. So, located at 324, 324, 328 / 340, 330. 350/358 and 368 Yolanda Avenue, also identified as assessors parcel numbers 044-081-029, 044-081-024, 044-072-006, 044-072-007, 044-072-008, 044-072-009, and 044-390-061, file number PRJ19-002. Wait further reading.
And I'll second.
Good choice. Okay, so the MMD was moved by Vice Chair Weeks, seconded by Commissioner Duggan. Commissioner Duggan, would you like to start?
Sure. And I'll thank Vice Chair Weeks for reading all those numbers. I can make all the findings for the mitigated negative declaration, and I'm in support of the project. I think it's makes sense to rezone and reclassify these in the general plan and make it all a cohesive site. And I think it looks like a nice, attractive use of this parcel or these parcels, and I'm in support of the project.
Mr. Collier.
I can also make the required findings for the mitigated negative declaration, and I will also be supporting the project. I agree with Commissioner Duggan that this is it makes more sense to have these rezoned all into light industrial, and I look forward to seeing the site developed. Thank you.
Mr. Carter.
Yes, I can make the required findings for the mitigated negative declaration, and I, like my fellow commissioners, support the rezoning and general plan amendments to bring a little unity to the property and provide the flexibility and certainty of development that those changes will make.
Great. Mr. Pearson.
I can also make all the required findings. I echo my fellow commissioners, and I also just note that I do find that this is a minor noticing defect. It's not enough for me to, have to redo the project and renotice. So just a minor one, I'm okay with proceeding.
Vice Chair Weeks.
I also can support the project and make all the required findings. I do think, as Commissioner Duggan indicated, the zoning is more appropriate, and as Commissioner Peterson indicated, the 2-day noticing defect to me is not so crucial as to not act on this item.
Great. And I also can make the required findings for the adequacy of the MND, and I think this is a really nice project. I think it's good, especially as we start to move forward with another general plan update to kind of catch these places that are landlocked, that nothing will ever happen as far as housing. So I think this is a good amendment to make it light industrial and to fit in with that area better. And I think it's been handled as far as what the law suggests in terms of moving the housing over to with the concurrent general plan amendment for 3575 Mendocino. So with that, I'm also in favor of the project, and I'll ask the recording secretary to take our votes.
Thank you, Chair Cisco. Same thing, alphabetical order, ending with Vice Chair and Chair. We'll go starting with Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan.
Aye.
Commissioner Kalia.
Aye.
Commissioner Okrepke abstained. So moving on to Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks.
Aye.
And Chair Cisco.
Aye. And so that passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Okrepke abstaining. That resolution having been moved by Vice Chair Weeks and seconded by Commissioner Duggan. So next we move on to our general plan resolution. Would somebody like to read that? Oh, wow, you're brave tonight. Commissioner Duggan.
I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council approval of a general plan amendment for 5 parcels at 324, 324, 328/340, 330, 350/358 Yolanda Avenue, assessors parcel numbers 044-081-029, 044-081-024, 044-072-006, 044-072-007, and 044-072-008 from retail and business services to light industry, and for 1 parcel at 0 Yolanda Avenue, assessors parcel number 044-0-390-061 from medium high density residential to light industry for the Yolanda Industrial Project, file number PRJ19-002, and waive further reading.
And a second.
I'll second.
Great. So that general plan amendment resolution was read by, moved by Commissioner Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Peterson. Any other comments on that? Okay, not seeing any. Mr. Maloney to take our votes.
Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan.
Aye.
Commissioner Kalia.
Aye.
Commissioner Okrepke abstaining. Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks.
Aye.
Chair Cisco.
Aye. And so the general plan resolution passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Okrepke abstaining, and again was moved by Commissioner Duggan, seconded by Commissioner Peterson. And we have one more, the rezoning resolution. So let's share the wealth here. Okay, Vice Chair Weeks.
I saw Commissioner Kalia put his hand up too. He can handle it.
I'll do it.
Good
But watch, my dog is about to start barking all of a sudden, I bet you. I'll move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council rezoning of the properties located at 324, 324, 328-340, 330, 350-358 Yolanda Avenue, also identified as assessors parcels numbers 044-081-029, 044-081-024, 044-072-006, 044-072-007, and 044-072-008 from the CG General Commercial Zoning District to the IL Light Industrial Zoning District and the property located at 0 Yolanda Avenue, also identified as Assessor's Parcel Number 044-390-061 from the R315 Multifamily Residential Zoning District to the IL Light Industrial Zoning District, file number PRJ 19-002, and waive further reading.
Yay. And now the easy part, who wants to do the second? Okay, Vice Chair Weeks.
Thank you, Commissioner Kalia.
Okay, so the rezoning resolution was moved by Commissioner Kalia, seconded by Vice Chair Weeks, and Mr. Malone, you can take our votes.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalia?
Aye.
Commissioner Krepke abstaining. Moving to Commissioner Peterson. Sorry, I didn't hear you there, Commissioner.
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
And Chair Sisko?
Aye. And so the rezoning resolution passes with 6 ayes, Commissioner Okrepke abstaining, and I believe that concludes that item. And hopefully Commissioner Okrepke is around and getting ready to rejoin us. Yes, there he is. Yay. Thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our final public hearing tonight. Item 10.1C, which is a public hearing in our Fall General Plan Amendment Package 2020. It is the TNL Micro Cannabis Facility, the Mitigated Negative Declaration, a General Plan Amendment and Rezoning, and a Major Conditional Use Permit. It is an ex parte disclosure. So, Commissioner Krepke.
I have visited the site and have nothing further to disclose.
Mr. Kaya.
I also visited the site and have nothing further to disclose.
Mr. Duggan.
I have nothing to disclose.
Mr. Carter.
I visited the site and have no further disclosures.
Mr. Peterson.
I also visited the site and have no new information to disclose.
And Vice Chair Weeks.
Visited the site and have nothing new to disclose.
And I also visited the site and have new information to disclose. So with that, I believe this one belongs to presenting planner Andrew Triple.
Great. Thank you, Chair Sisko, members of the Planning Commission. I just want to confirm that you can see my shared screen.
We can.
Great. Thank you. So my presentation this evening will be the third item in the Fall 2020 General Plan Amendment Package. This is the TNL Micro Cannabis Facility Project located at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive. So the project description would include requests for a general plan amendment from retail and business services to light industry and a rezoning from general commercial to light industrial for the 2 parcels located at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive. This would allow operation of a proposed commercial cannabis facility consisting of commercial cultivation at 10,202 square feet, non-volatile manufacturing at 3,282 square feet, and distribution at 6,016 square feet in an existing 2-story, 19,500 square foot commercial industrial building. The cannabis cultivation land use is subject to approval of a major conditional use permit. and Planning Commission approval of a major conditional use permit this evening would be subject to City Council approving of the proposed general plan amendment and rezoning. So the project site is located in Santa Rosa's northwest quadrant. The site is surrounded by a variety of commercial and light industrial uses, including public self-storage facilities to the north, commercial retail, fitness and health facilities and wholesale merchants to the south, indoor commercial recreational facilities, and occupied and unoccupied retail spaces to the east, and public self-storage and a blood donation collection center to the west. Specifically, the project site is located on the north side of Industrial Drive, east of Airway Drive, at its intersection with Industrial. It's comprised of a 0.24 acre parcel and a 0.99 acre parcel. These parcels are assessor tax parcels created as a result of a special tax district. The approximately 1.23 acre project site was developed in 2004. The project site fronts Industrial Drive is developed with public improvements, site circulation areas, and surface parking on the smaller assessor's parcel directly abutting Industrial Drive. And then the larger 0.99 acre parcel is developed with the two-story 19,500 square foot building. The building is oriented towards Industrial Drive with the parking lot along the south, east, and north sides, and it sets back at least 25 feet from all property lines and adjacent development. The loading area is located on the west side of the building, and the site currently provides 54 parking spaces, 3 of which are ADA compliant. The project site is currently provided with water and wastewater service by the city, including fire flows. The building's exterior footprint is approximately 13,650 square feet, but it does include 19,500 square feet of improved internal space on the ground floor and mezzanine levels. The mezzanine level would cover only about approximately 50% of the front half of the building, with the remainder of the building interior being a 2-story space. In accordance with zoning code section 20-50.050A4, the required neighborhood meeting was waived by the director because no residential neighborhood would be impacted by the proposed project. No notice of application was distributed as required by section 20-50.050 subsection E. However, we do rely on section 20-66.020A3, which states that a defect or failure in the notice procedure shall not affect the jurisdiction or authority of a review authority to take action on a matter. Property owners and occupants within 600 feet of the proposed project have received a mailed notice of intent to adopt a mitigated negative declaration for the T&L micro project, received a mailed Planning Commission public notices, and would also have access to on-site noticing for this evening's public hearing. No public comments have been received in response to any of the notifications. Here we can see the existing general plan and zoning of the subject site that is outlined in yellow. To the north of the site, we have light industry, retail, and business services land uses. To the south, we have the same light industry, retail, and business service. To the east, we have retail and business service, and then to the west, light industry, retail, and business services. So the site is at the edge of one of our larger light industrial zoning districts in the city's northwest quadrant. In terms of the request for the general plan amendment, the applicant made the request for 2 primary reasons. First, as we see on the left, is related to industrial vacancy. Professional real estate markets demand studies show less than 5% vacancy in industrial spaces in Santa Rosa, leading up to the second quarter of 2020. So that would be an 8-quarter data analysis. Ideally, the city would have a higher vacancy rate to facilitate negotiating power of leases, as well as to encourage a variety of uses sizes of operations, and market mix. Amending the general plan for this property would provide approximately 20,000 additional square feet of industrially zoned space. Additionally, if we look to the left and we look at the retail environment, we see that this area here to the east of the project site, bounded by Industrial Drive and Cleveland Avenue, is a portion of the city affected by the 2017 Tubbs fire. The Kmart property that once occupied this large parcel to the east provided an economic and retail anchor for the neighborhood, as well as for the adjacent retail uses in the area. However, following its destruction, the retail businesses have suffered due to a loss of retail activity, as well as foot traffic that supported retail operations. It's not anticipated that a major retail anchor will develop the former Kmart property. In fact, we have met with property owners who are proposing a community care facility for Native American tribes at that site. Additionally, given the restrictions on retail operations imposed by COVID-related state and local health ordinances, as well as significant restriction in consumer spending, retail is a less profitable enterprise at present and likely moving forward. Rezoning and amending the general plan from retail and business services to allow for industrial uses aligns the property with its neighbors, as well as the actual current intensity of use of the building. So in terms of general plan findings, what you have before you are some of the key goals that would be implemented should the Planning Commission choose to recommend approval of a general plan amendment. The general plan seeks to protect the industrial land supply and ensure compatibility between industrial development and surrounding neighborhoods. Conversion of existing developed land in response to market demand would ensure that the industrial land supply continues to meet economic needs. Additionally, rather than promoting development of vacant greenfield sites, conversion would foster a compact development pattern that reduces travel, energy, and land usage and materials consumption while promoting greenhouse gas emissions reductions citywide. Finally, rezoning and amending the general plan from retail and business services to allow for industrial uses would align the property's land use opportunities with its neighbors, as well as the current actual intensity of use of the building. Additionally, for findings, we find that the project site is adjacent to a large industrial parcel west that's designated light industry in the general plan diagram. And that really serves as a gateway parcel to the large swath of industrial properties that we've seen in previous slides. The surrounding uses are a wide mix of commercial and light industrial uses, and the property is already adjacent to an industrial district. Therefore, amending the general plan and rezoning the property would render the property more compatible with its neighbors. Additionally, the intended manufacturing uses are light in nature, which would be compatible with the overall zoning of the area and the neighborhood. The property is currently developed with a two-story commercial industrial building, which could accommodate a wide variety of light industrial uses while maintaining the compatibility with the neighborhood. A change to the general plan and the property's designation is necessary to better utilize the space. Industrial designations would better reflect the property's current occupancy as a furniture warehouse and the changing character of the overall neighborhood, as well as the property's adjacency to one of the city's largest industrial zones. And so then the zoning map amendment is a proposed rezoning from general commercial to light industrial zoning district for the project site. And the light industrial zoning district is applied to areas appropriate for some light industrial uses, as well as commercial service uses and activities that would otherwise be compatible with residential, retail, or office uses. The light industrial zoning district is consistent with the light industry land use classification of the general plan and would implement this land use designation for which general plan amendment is proposed. General plan section 1-2 requires that the general plan be internally consistent. Therefore, a proposed amendment to a zoning district that is consistent with the general plan land use designation and implements that land use designation would be consistent with the goals and policies of all elements of the general plan. The rezoning and amending of the general plan for light industrial uses would not foreseeably increase the intensity of the property's use, nor have any foreseeable effect on the public's health, safety, convenience, or welfare. And the project as proposed and conditioned meets all the required development standards for the light industrial zoning district. And so now we want to turn to the proposed cannabis uses. A major conditional use permit is required for cannabis cultivation exceeding 5,001 square feet of gross land use. In a light industrial zoning district, non-volatile manufacturing and distribution would be permitted uses. And so the major conditional use permit before you this evening is for the proposed cultivation land use. In terms of the proposed cannabis uses, the minimum parking requirement would be 20 spaces, and at present the site is developed with 54 spaces available. Specific regulations contained in Chapter 20-46 of the Cannabis Ordinance include dual licensing requirements, and these cannabis uses would be required to additionally be licensed by the state and comply with all local and state regulations for cannabis operations. For these specific uses, which would be closed to the public, the operations would not be open to the public. Therefore, any access by minors would be subject to state employment laws for cannabis operations. The applicant has provided policies and procedures for inventory and tracking of cannabis and cannabis products, as well as maintenance for associated records. And state law currently does allow multiple cannabis land uses and state operator licenses for multiple permits on a site. The project application has been reviewed by building and fire departments and has been conditioned accordingly. The applicant demonstrates a clear understanding of what is required to comply with building and fire requirements. The applicant has also provided a security plan that includes required security enhancements and has provided a certified odor mitigation plan in which describes operational processes and maintenance plan, including activities undertaken to ensure the odor mitigation system remains functional, that there are staff training procedures in place, and that the engineering controls would include the installation of activated carbon filters on recirculating air systems. The applicant has also indicated that it will comply with the city's outdoor lighting ordinance, as well as the city's noise ordinance, and the applicant notes that it does not propose any outdoor mechanical equipment other than standard HVAC systems that would be typical for light industrial uses. And so with the City Council approval of a general plan amendment to light industry and adoption of a zoning code map amendment to light industrial, the project would be consistent with the general plan land use designation and implementing zoning district. It would re-tenant a previously occupied commercial building in a commercial industrial area with a light industrial land use. As such, the area is well suited for the proposed operation. There are no existing or planned residential uses in the immediate vicinity of the project site, and the use has been conditioned to minimize impacts to adjacent properties. The proposed uses would be located entirely within the existing commercial industrial building. The building would be fully accessible with ADA standards, although no public access would be permitted, and all necessary utilities are available on site. It would be consistent with the surrounding land uses as identified in the general plan, and the proposed conditions of approval address the requirement to minimize potential odor, light pollution, and noise, as well as requirements for a detailed security plan that include background checks for employees, 24-hour monitoring, use of surveillance cameras, secure entry gates to the project site, and similar measures. And so an initial study was prepared in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. The proposed project was found to result in potentially significant impacts in air quality, greenhouse gases, and transportation. The mitigation measures included in the MND do address air quality, potentially some significant impact of odor, and would be successfully mitigated to a level undetectable outside the building. In terms of greenhouse gas impacts, the project would install real-time energy and water tracking. And then finally, for transportation, mitigation measures include signage and circulation markings to better ensure that, to reduce any potential conflict between vehicles and pedestrians. A notice of intent to adopt a MND was posted with the State Clearinghouse and the Sonoma County Clerk's Office, initiating a 30-day public comment period beginning June 22nd, 2020 and ending July 22nd, 2020. No comments were received by the city during the public comment period, either from the public or from referred agencies. The allocation of additional square footage to distribution with no increase in total square footage does not rise to the level of significant new information that would require recirculation under the California Environmental Quality Act. The project's mitigated negative declaration sufficiently analyzed the project's maximum potential environmental impacts from all industrial land uses in the 19,500 square foot of building space, including distribution. No significant issues were found or needed to be addressed during planning review, and no issues remain to be resolved. And as I mentioned, no public comments were received at the time that this presentation was prepared or at the time of this evening's meeting. And so with that, it is recommended by Planning and Economic Development Department that the Planning Commission adopt a MND and MMRP for the project. Recommend that the City Council approve a general plan amendment resolution to change land use designation of the subject parcels to light industry, and recommend that the City Council adopt a rezoning ordinance to amend the zoning map to light industrial for the subject parcels, and that the Planning Commission approve a major conditional use permit subject to City Council approval of the proposed general plan amendment and rezoning to allow cannabis cultivation in 10,202 square feet of the existing commercial industrial building. With that, planning staff is available for questions, and the applicant is available, applicant team is available as well for introductions and any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Triple. So the applicant is not making a presentation. They're just going to be available for questions if necessary.
That is correct. The applicant representative would like to introduce the applicant team if the commission wishes.
Okay, well, let's take it back to the commission. Any questions of staff before we hear from the applicant? No? Okay. All right. With that, we'll hear from the applicant and have those introductions made.
Applicants, you have the ability to mute and unmute yourself. If you can do so, you can speak.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Cisco and commissioners. This is Erin Karlstrom. Well, rather, Erin Karlstrom's voice coming to you on behalf of Andy and Tao Nguyen, who are the owners of the building as well as the applicants. They are waving, but you cannot see them. We are also joined this evening by Justin Witt from Brelgy and Race, who were our environmental engineers and drafted the initial study and MND. Justin may be waving, I don't know, but he is here and available if any of you have questions about that document. We're super grateful to your staff's assistance and Andrew's efforts to get us here, and cognizant of the time, as well as Andrew's stellar job in presenting the project in its components. I'm not going to make a presentation. However, we are available to answer any of the questions the commission may have. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Carlstrom. Good to hear your voice. Okay, any questions for the applicant before we move on to the public hearing? Okay, not seeing any. So tonight this is a public hearing, so for members of the public out there, I have a feeling there aren't many, given the response. If you want to make a comment under the public hearing, you can raise your hand by Zoom. If you're calling in, you can hit *9. You'll be recognized by the host and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing.
Chair Cisco, at this time, no one is raising their hands, and I will note that there are 2 members of the public right now.
Okay, so you know that there are members of the public out there, but they're not asking to speak.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right, give them a few more seconds. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, any questions of staff or the applicant on this? Not seeing any. Okay. So this involves 4 resolutions, fewer numbers on these. And so as usual, we'll begin with the mitigated negative declaration resolution, discuss the project generally, and make whatever amendments we need to if necessary. So with that, would somebody like to move the resolution for the MND? Okay, Commissioner Carter.
I move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa adopting a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the TNL micro cannabis facility located at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive, assessors parcel numbers 148-050-027 and 148-041-049, file number PRJ 19-039, and waive further reading.
And a second. Okay, Commissioner Collier. So that the MND was moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Collier. Commissioner Collier, would you like to start?
Sure. I can make all the required findings for the MND and the MMRP, and we'll be supporting the project.
Okay. Commissioner Krupke.
Like Commissioner Collier, I can make all the required findings and will be supporting the project.
Commissioner Carter.
I can make all the required findings for the mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation and monitoring and reporting program. I'd like to also thank Andrew for putting together a great package. Having links in the staff report is very handy because I so love reading the zoning ordinance.
Don't we all? Commissioner Duggan.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I can make all the required findings for the mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and I support the project.
Commissioner Peterson. Commissioner Peterson, we need to have you unmute and hello. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize if I think I'm having a little bit of internet issues, so if I cut out, I'm still here. Yeah, I will echo my fellow commissioners. I think, you know, I don't want the 2 members of the public that are currently watching to think that, you know, we haven't done our homework. This was a very comprehensive package. I think it was a very good explanation from the Planning and Economic Development Department. I think, the questions that we normally have were answered already as part of this packet. So I think, there's a lot of moving pieces to this, resolving the issues was pretty straightforward, at least from my end. So with that, I can make all the required findings for the Resolution 1.
Vice Chair Weeks.
Said that this was a very thorough packet as usual, and I can make all the required findings and am supportive of the project.
And I also can make the required findings for the mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program. All of you did that so well. And I'm definitely in support of the project. I think that all the findings can be made on the general plan and rezoning, and the conditional use permit package was very complete as usual, and Mr. Tripple's staff report was very complete. So I feel very comfortable in approving the project as well. So with that, that resolution was moved by Commissioner Carter, seconded by Commissioner Collier, and Mr. Maloney will take our votes.
Thank you, Chair Cisco. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Collier?
Aye.
Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
Chair Cisco?
Aye. And so again, the MND resolution passes with 7 ayes. Next, we have our resolution regarding the general plan amendment. Would somebody like to read that? Vice Chair Weeks.
I move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending that the City Council amend the general plan for the P&L micro cannabis facility from retail and business services to light industry for the properties at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive, assessors parcel numbers 148-050-027 and 148-041-049, file number GPAM 19-003, PRJ 19-039. Waive further reading.
And a second. Commissioner Collier. Okay, so the general plan amendment resolution was moved by Vice Chair Weeks, seconded by Commissioner Collier, and Mr. Maloney can take our votes.
Yes. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Collier?
Aye.
Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
And Chair Cisco?
Aye. And so the general plan resolution passes with 7 ayes. And next is our rezoning resolution. Somebody like to read that? Great. Commissioner Collier.
I'd like to move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa recommending to the City Council rezoning of property located at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive, assessors parcels numbers 148-050-027 and 148-041-049 to the Light Industrial IL District, file number REZ 19-010, PRJ 19-039, and waive further reading.
Great. And second. Okay, so that was moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Vice Chair Weeks, and Mr. Maloney can take our vote.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalia?
Aye.
Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
And Chair Cisco?
Aye. And so that rezoning resolution moved by Commissioner Collier, seconded by Vice Chair Weeks, passes with 7 ayes. And last but not least is our conditional use permit resolution. Would somebody like to read that? Okay, Vice Chair Weeks, you got up there first. Let's do it.
Okay, I move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa making findings and determinations and approving conditional use permit for the T&L micro cannabis facility from retail and business services to light industry for the properties at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive, assessors parcel numbers 148-050-027 and 148-041-049, file number GPAM 19-003 PRJ 19-039, and waive further reading.
And a second by Commissioner Okrepke. So that was conditional use permit resolution was moved by Vice Chair Weeks, seconded by Commissioner Okrepke. Any other comments, discussion?
Chair Cisco?
Yes.
I believe that the opening statement needs to be amended to strike from retail and business services to light industry. It looks like that was a
That followed the general
text
plan.
from the general plan amendment, correct?
Okay. So, Vice Chair Weeks, you catch that? You want to reread the heading with that correction?
Andrew, can you say it again for me, please?
Sure. You would reread the heading, but strike the text from retail and business services to light industry.
Okay. So I move a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Rosa making findings and determination and approving a conditional use permit for the T&L micro cannabis facility for the properties at 3515 and 0 Industrial Drive, assessors parcel numbers 148-050-027 and 148-041-049, file number GPAM 19-003 PRJ 19-039. And wait for the reading.
Okay, and I'm assuming Commissioner Okrepke, you'll second that again? Okay, great. So the conditional use permit with the heading amended was moved by Vice Chair Weeks, seconded by Commissioner Okrepke. Any other discussion? I don't think we did. Okay, our votes from Mr. Maloney.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Duggan?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalia?
Aye.
Commissioner Okrepke?
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Weeks?
Aye.
And Chair Cisco?
I'm not
Chair
hearing
Cisco.
it. Okay, aye. And so again, the conditional use permit with the heading amended was moved by Vice Chair Weeks, seconded by Commissioner Okrepke, and that passes with 7 ayes. And that concludes that item. I believe that concludes our meeting for this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and understanding our November 26th meeting will be canceled. So I'm going to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be December 10th. So with that, thanks everybody. Did a good job.
Thank you, commissioners.
Happy Thanksgiving.